glad you're there. So glad to be here. Name of the program is Homekeepers, and that's a very important job that everyone in the family should be involved in, and you know, just to keep that home, keep the people strong, keep them spiritually strong, looking toward the Lord, keeping them healthy physically, keeping their finances in order. That's what we're all about. We just want to prepare you for heaven, but help you have a little better ride here on earth, okay? Glad that you could be with us. Got a lot of new visitors today, I'm sure of that. Welcome in. And you regulars, we love you, love you, love you. Got a really interesting program today because I have a husband and a wife, Bill and Debbie Ismer. They each have had a transplant, one a heart, one a kidney. And this really piques my interest because if you've watched this program a lot, you know that I have a son who had a kidney transplant, Reverend Michael Rippy in Montgomery, Alabama, and his beautiful wife, Terry, gave him the kidney. And it was hard. We watched both of them rolled into surgery, and 3 teenagers they had at the time that waited outside. But the Lord proved absolutely sufficient and more. And he's still preaching today, and everything's going as well as could be expected with this kind of a situation. And so you want to hear about this, about their love story, but also I hope to educate you on this. They have a little kind of slogan that says, "Don't take your organs to heaven." It's just wonderful what can be done with, you know, if someone is called home to heaven, there are things in your body that could be a blessing to other people. So I want you to hear more about that, and I'm going to join Stephanie in the kitchen. We're going to make potato puffs. They are so cute, and I'm very anxious to taste one. But before I join her, I again want to offer you the book Total Marriage Makeover by Dr. David Clark. And he is a regular on Homekeepers. And I've mentioned before, this is an important book because it would be a really good idea for every married person to take a look at their marriage. Step back and look at it and read this book, and maybe there are things that could be a whole lot better. I don't doubt it for 1 minute. And so we'll offer this to you for that gift at least $17.95 to Homekeepers. And that includes your shipping and handling. And so if you want to call that number on your screen with your credit card handy, that's 1-800-229-0059. And Stephanie is here to give you the address.
Sure, it's Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida, 33758.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I hope you will take advantage of that. No. And maybe even, you've been reading it, right?
I have been reading it. It's very good information.
And would it be good for somebody who's engaged?
I think it would be good for, yes, definitely. Even if you have a great marriage, there's always room for improvement. So I think it's for everybody.
All right, these called potato puffs, and how would you use them?
Well, I would use this as a side dish. You know, sometimes you just get tired of serving the same old stuff.
Thing,
so this is kind of serving the same stuff, but in a different way, a different flavor. So that's what I like about it.
And I think it specifies you should have those kind of pans that are, what do they call them? Non-stick.
Yeah.
And these aren't.
So we have spray. So
but we're going to spray the life out of them. But if you have the non-stick, I would suggest.
And it says spray it even if you don't, if you have the non-stick. So I would spray it. So I have
We're setting them up in case they don't come out. Right?
Yes, yes, because that's always an option. I have 2 eggs that are whisked up. I have 1/3 cup of sour cream.
This is actually a lot of stuff you put on your potato anyway.
Right. This is like a loaded baked potato in a muffin tin. Then I have some cheddar cheese and some Parmesan.
Oh my.
Yes. Have some parsley. Let's get that all mixed up. And then I have
That would be good just to throw it in the skillet and scramble it.
And then I have 3 cups of real mashed potatoes.
Yep. And we often show you things that you can really do ahead of time.
Yeah, this would be for a great freezer cooking
We like
meal.
to help our hardworking women.
Yeah.
You know, make life a little easier for them.
So you just mix this up. Let's put a little. You want to put a little salt and pepper?
All right. My hands aren't clean.
Oh, here, I'll do. You know, this is one of those meals, like you can make mashed potatoes one day of the week and make extra, and then a couple nights later you could make these. So your mashed potatoes would already be made. There you go.
That's
Sufficient.
do it to taste.
Yeah. And then all you do, let's get it mixed up here pretty good, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill the muffin tin.
Now, Stephanie is one who plans ahead. First place, it takes a lot of angst out of your life,
Yes.
and it saves money.
Yeah, especially, you know, like last week when Alexis had her tonsils out and I was slightly stressed out, my meal plan was already ready. I didn't have to think about, because I still didn't want to go on, you know, I didn't want to waste money and go out and eat and all that. So I still had a meal plan ready. I still had everything there I needed. So it helps.
And how full do you fill them?
To the top.
And we just pulled these out
Look at
just right before the
those.
show started.
Those look really, really good. And you know, you could put
Oh,
onions.
it's coming right out.
Yeah. You could put onions in here. You could put bacon in here. There's a lot of things you could put in.
Well, I think we mentioned before, a potato is just a blank page.
Yes.
You can just do anything
with
with
a
it.
bad rap. You know, potatoes aren't bad for you. It's what you put in them.
My.
Is it yummy? Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let me get my little dainty bite here.
Arthelene's taking one of these home for dinner tonight. What do you think? I think your guests would really, really like these. And
You know what else this would be good for? Portion control.
uh-huh.
You don't need a big old wallop, you know, pile of mashed potatoes on your plate. One of those.
And the
would be
sour
good.
cream is controlled. And the cheese.
Yep.
And all, because
Yeah. Everything in
what
moderation.
we put in there and what you get here is not a huge amount
Right.
of calories or fat or anything else. So I like this one.
That was
And
yummy.
we'd like for you to have it. The information's coming up on your screen. And you can email me, or you can send a letter or something. We'll send it to you, no cost. And hope you enjoy it as much as we have. Now stay with me. I want you to meet my guests.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, just write to the address on your screen, or you can email your request to arthelene@rippy.org.
I just told my guests if they're really good, we'll give them a potato puff. So, welcome.
Looking forward to it. It smells very good.
Yeah, welcome, Bill and Debbie Ismer. What a story you have.
We're incredibly blessed in our lives, no doubt about it.
And pardon me, and as we get into it, find out how you're giving back all the time. This whole world of transplants is just miraculous. I remember the first heart transplant was in South Africa.
Yes.
But I don't remember the doctor's name. But I used to know.
Christian Bernard.
Bernard, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And my, how they've come since then. Let's start with you, Bill. You have a heart transplant.
Yes, I do.
And if I remember reading your book, let me mention these books, In Third Place, and also A Heart for Service. We'll mention these again. You can get both of them on Amazon.com. You thought you were pretty healthy, right? Until the elephants sat on your chest?
Yes, I had retired from a 30-year career in law enforcement, and I was living in my condo on the beach in Jupiter. And I had, I guess by society standards, had done fairly well in life. I had an export business, and I was traveling to Europe, and but by God's standards, I wasn't doing that well. I wasn't putting Him first in my life, and He was about to bring His wayward child back home to me. He gave me a heart attack, which enabled me to learn about Him, to study Him, and to learn about the true essence of life, the meaning of life,
Well,
who
that's
we
a
are,
great way to put it.
what we are, and what we're doing here.
So you had no inclination you had a heart problem, right?
None whatsoever. I was jogging on the beach every day,
Bang.
and it was in excellent physical condition. This was a one-time heart attack, And I remember waking up with pain in my left arm and the sensation of an elephant sitting on my chest, and called 911, and they came, conducted their protocol, took me to the emergency room. Whereupon I had a massive heart attack, destroyed the electrical system as well as the muscle, heart muscle itself. But interesting, during that time, it was pain in my chest, and my spirit immediately left my body. And I was in contact with other spiritual entities. And there was such unconditional love being expressed by them towards me and vice versa, that it seemed like seconds later, I was awakened with a jolt, and my shirt was open, and the nurse had been working on me. She said, "Sir, we've been working on you 6 minutes trying to revive you."
Oh, my word. So, and there was no brain damage or anything?
No, well, I don't know about that. I'll have to ask my wife that question.
I don't know. You seem pretty good.
But,
well, was this the electrical paddles they were putting on you?
Yes, those were electrical paddles. But the point is, those other spiritual entities I was in contact with were those doctors and nurses in that emergency room. And God sent me back with that information that we are, in fact, spiritual entities.
We are spiritual beings. There's
passing through this world.
Yeah, yeah. Now, did you immediately go on a transplant list?
No. My condition worsened from that point on, and actually, we had a little family gathering to say goodbye, because I remember one of the physician's assistants told me, "Bill, your heart is so bad, if I were you, I'd prepare for the worst." So I did, and I asked for a family get-together at Christmas in '98. They all came, but my sister Janet, who lives in Canada, would not let me go. My mom was still alive, and she gave me Dad's Bible, who had died 20 years earlier with a one-time heart attack. And of course I started reading it, and it hadn't been touched since he passed, and it was bookmarked Episcopal of James. And if you ever want to know where you're at, your place in life, read James.
I know sometimes the Lord has prompted me when I used to fly a lot.
Wow.
And one time the Lord spoke to me, and I was just getting my seat, said, read the book of James while you're up. I said, I don't want to read the book of James.
It reminds you of how far you have to go and where you've been. But I read that, and I came to understand that I had been living my life up to that point, satisfying myself. And God had a purpose for me. He had designed me for a purpose, and He expected me to do better. And so, but my sister wouldn't let me pass and go to heaven at that point. She arranged for a transplant evaluation at Tampa General Hospital. And my son drove me across the state January of 1999. And upon arrival at the hospital, I was sicker than I even realized. I could only walk a few feet. And I remember asking the doctor after they did all these tests, I said, "Well, can I go back to Jupiter? And when we get the heart, can I come back over then?" He says, "Sir, we didn't even know how you got here today. You're so sick."
So they kept you.
They gave me 48 hours to live without a transplant.
But I happen to know that there aren't these organs just hanging around. How long did it take to get one?
Well, that wasn't God's plan for me. The doctor was wrong. They infused me with multiple drugs, and my heart got a little bit better, incrementally better, to the point where they were able to transfer me to the step-down unit, which was 5A at Tampa General Hospital, where I would spend most of 1999 waiting for the gift of life to come, a heart transplant.
Now, I want to get on the transplant, because was it during that time that Debbie, the nurse, took care of you?
Well, yes, Debbie was my favorite nurse, and she always had time. She always had time for me. And I think she felt sorry for me. I had been there about 6.5 months waiting for the gift. And she drugged the CPR dummy, it's a full-size dummy, into my room so I'd have someone to have lunch with and dinner with. The doctors thought it was hysterical.
How sweet, yeah. Now, do you know where the heart came from? I'm always curious about that, because somebody can't donate a heart.
No. You know, it's the information is you're giving some information, but you don't know exactly the name of the person.
But obviously deceased.
I knew the age of the person, and you know, when I received the information that I was going to get the gift of life, right away I was so happy, but on the same token I was sad, because I knew someone had died that I might live. Yeah,
it's a mixture, isn't it?
We've written to the donor family many times, both of us, and I always include in there, it's the best part of me. We do all our volunteer work together, and I truly believe that. I'm living a life for two people.
Now, Debbie, taking care of him and all this stuff. And at what point you had a kidney
transplant.
you had a diseased kidney that you needed a transplant in order to live. Were you ever on dialysis?
No, I was very blessed. I didn't have to go on dialysis. I had a living kidney donor, which is somebody who is alive. You can live fine with one kidney, and I had someone.
Well, that's what happened with my kids.
Right.
So at what point was this? Were you married by then, or?
Oh, yes. My
Okay.
transplant's only been about 3.5 years ago. So, but I knew, he knew, marrying me, that I had a hereditary kidney disease called polycystic kidney disease.
I've heard of that.
Yes, it's a genetic disease. I found out when I went to work at Tampa General at age 20 through some tests, because I had an abnormal urine specimen, that my father, or that I had it. And then further research indicated through my father's autopsy report, because he had died at age 46. So I found out through getting his autopsy report when I was 20. I was 15 when he died. I found out from the report that he had this disease called polycystic kidney, which I knew nothing about. But however, he was an only child, and his father, interestingly enough, died at 46 from a back problem, which that many years ago could have been PKD.
Yeah.
So he knew I had PKD, which what I found out was when I was 20 that somewhere in my 40s or 50s, most likely I would have kidney failure.
Do you know of any other couples who are both transplant recipients?
Yeah, actually,
Really?
yeah. There's we know others. Yeah, we know others. And
Husband and wife, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not the normal, but there are others.
They didn't meet in the hospital.
Well, one of them did.
Where, of course, two Hershey candy bars. She wondered why am I always assigned to this patient every day? And come to find out, after we were married, I told her a couple Hershey candy bars, the midnight shift supervisor, make sure she was
There
assigned
you go.
to me.
Between the two of you, how many anti-rejection pills do you take daily?
I take 2 twice a day, and he takes 3 twice a day.
Yes.
Oh, that's not much.
Yeah, we take a few other things, but
Then it must have changed a lot. My boy was taking 20 or something.
Oh, no.
well, we take other pills, but as far as anti-rejection,
Anti-rejection.
yeah,
Specifically,
we take 2 different.
immunosuppressants.
And he's only been on 2. It's just recently a 3rd one was added, but it was not for rejection. It was for something else.
Well, you know, the Bible says in the last days, knowledge will increase. And I think that's every kind of knowledge there is. It's the good knowledge, it's the bad knowledge, it's the medical knowledge, it's every kind of knowledge, technology.
Absolutely.
We can't keep up with technology, you know,
true.
as it increases. And so as medical science increases, I think they're going to really, you know, fine tune this thing more and more, because you have to make sure that that foreign little piece of flesh in there doesn't deteriorate and reject.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now you've kind of turned this into a ministry. How does this work?
Well, I'd never played the piano before. And after the transplant, I could play the piano. So we
I wonder
volunteered.
if the first person that had that heart could play the piano.
You know, this was one of the questions we would
Now we're
ask.
getting into
if we ever had the if we ever had the opportunity to speak to the people, I would like to ask them that question.
Yeah.
But this gift now he's given me, I share it with the patients and staff at Tampa General Hospital 2-3 days a week. Many times we'll have me play for patients who are transitioning into heaven, and I'll play, of course, religious music. And I'm very blessed to be able to do that. And also play in a praise band in church and sing in the choir. These are all gifts that he's given me. And Debbie, also, in addition to working part-time, still volunteers at Tampa General. Yesterday, for example, I was playing for a patient who is very, very ill, and she has no family there, and Debbie was there after work, spending time with her, because she had no one with her as a volunteer after she got off her job. So we spent a lot of time at Tampa General volunteering.
What an education to be a part of something like this. It gives you a compassion and a mercy and an understanding that you couldn't get it any other way.
The reason that I wrote that book was to share information that the Lord had given me as to who we are, what we are, and what we're doing here.
Let me mention those again. I'm talking to Bill and Debbie Ismer, and they are both recipients of transplants. Bill has a heart, she has a kidney, and written this book, these 2 books, about these experiences, A Heart for Service, and also A Spirit Guide for Life in third place. And you can get those on Amazon.com. And I think there's going to be more and more people who will leave their organs. They can do that by their driver's license, right?
Absolutely.
And
they must tell their family members as well that this is their intention, and in order for this to, be carried out, there are explicit instructions that all family members need to know this is.
You know what was interesting to me? They said my sons would be in 2 weeks. I said, why do we have to take 2 weeks? And they said, because they have to get the doctors team together. It's a huge team of doctors. We have a picture of those doctors, all in a circle. There's a whole lot of them. It's. I hope what's going on now doesn't just mess up the healthcare system completely, because I had an experience with my son and daughter-in-law that was everything that good medicine should be. I couldn't say enough about UAB in Birmingham, Alabama. We went through that. And brilliant, compassionate people. Now you had another experience, and that was in the Rose Parade.
Yeah, we did.
I've seen the Rose Parade. It's wonderful, yeah.
Well, do you want to tell that one, honey? Since you wrote the letter, go ahead.
Well, I had received an email a few years back about submitting a story for a chance of being selected to be one of the writers in the Donate Life float. Anyway, I submitted the story, and it had to be 500 words or less. I got that done, and I had mentioned it to him. He didn't remember me saying that, and on the 4th of July, of that year, I was away. I was out of town with my sister-in-law, and he was at home, and he got a phone call from a woman who tried to tell him that he won a trip to California based on his story, and he didn't believe it.
No, I didn't.
He just tried to blow her off, get her off the phone.
How did you get the name of a transplant patient? I started to give her a little bit of a hard time, actually, because I didn't think it was real, but she convinced me it was real.
There's
And it was
nothing like that
incredible.
Rose Parade.
Yes,
and you're waving to 500,000 people, and many of whom I was mouthing, "God bless you," and they mouthed it back. And it was such a wonderful feeling to know that that God is shared and love is shared throughout the world and the country.
So your life today is one of ministry, and also encouraging people in this field. You work with, what's it called? TimeLink or
LifeLink.
LifeLink,
yes.
They're the organ procurement organization for this area.
Yeah.
And we speak on behalf of LifeLink, and we'll have the opportunity to speak to civic organizations or kids in school, high school and stuff. And that's also very rewarding.
It's such a miracle. I think my son recovered faster than my daughter-in-law. Of course, hers was far more invasive at the time.
They do say that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
But,
true. The donor.
I watched him go in surgery. He was looking dead, and within 24 hours after that kidney, life was coming back, and it's wonderful. I'm glad you could be here today and put a spotlight on this. This is great.
It's definitely an honor for us and a privilege for us. Thank you so much.
And I would like to add that in addition to the driver's license and telling your family, donatelife.com on the internet is people can register online.
Donatelife.com.
Yes.
All right.
absolutely.
Well, this has been educational. This is great. A lot of people could learn from it.
you.
Stay with me. Got a couple things to say before we have to say goodbye.
Arthelene would like you to keep the following information handy. You may contact Homekeepers by writing to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758, or go to www.rippy.org. Remember, we always enjoy hearing from our viewers, and we thank you for your support.
All right. One more time, I want to offer you the book Total Marriage Makeover by our regular guest here at Homekeepers, Dr. David Clark. And I certainly urge you to get this. You might think your marriage is 100%. I hope it is. But be a good thing to go over this kind of a checklist in this book. $17.95. We'll send it to you, and that includes the shipping and handling for credit cards. 1-800-229-0059. And you can write to me at Homekeepers, Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758. 3758. Well, there's no question we live in a chaotic world. I believe we get numb to the new headlines that come along of violence, of abuse, of the lying, the lack of integrity in our government, and all of those things. And I was reading in Habakkuk this morning, and my, I don't think any of us have faced this yet. He was talking about the indignation that thou didst march through the earth in anger, talking about God, and to trample the nations, and went forth for the salvation of the people, but you did strike the head of the house of evil, to lay open from the thigh to the neck. Whoa. And thou didst pierce his own spears, and at the head of his throngs they stormed in to scatter us. Their exultation was those who devour the oppressed in secret. Thou didst tread on the sea with tiny horses, and on the surge of many waters I heard in my own inward parts, and I trembled at the sound of it all. And this is what was going on, the chaos and the disruption that was going on. But then he wrote, though the fig should not blossom, and there be no fruit in the vines, though the yield of the olive should fail, and the fields produce no food, though the flock should be cut off from the earth, and there be no cattle in the stalls, yet I will exalt in my God. I will praise him and will worship him. And I read that and everything that preceded it, and I think of how America has become just something on feelings, and somebody offended me and somebody hurt my feelings, and they get all bent out of shape over it, and they lose out with God, and they can't go to church because there might be a hypocrite there, and on and on and on. But Habakkuk said, in the middle of all this chaos and this destruction and death and wars, even though the olive leaves shall fail, there be no fruit in the field, there be no fruit on the vine, there be no cattle in the stall, nothing, yet I will exalt the Lord. Let's grow up, Christians. Let's praise him in the good times. In the good times, praise his name. In the bad times, do the same. It pays off. I hope you'll try it. Join me next time, remembering there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you should miss a Homekeepers program, you can catch up by going to www.ctnonline.com. Click on CTN Programs and then on Homekeepers.